Before you say anything else today, before you check your phone again, before you complain about your situation, I want you to pause for a moment and breathe. Because what you are about to hear is not random. It is not just another message. It is something your soul needed to hear right now, and deep down you already feel it. You didn't wake up today by accident. You didn't land on this video by coincidence. There is something deeper happening, something intentional, something that has been guiding you even when you didn't notice it. And today might be the moment where everything begins to shift for you. Because there is something most people never fully understand, something that silently shapes their life every single day, something so close to them that they overlook it completely, and yet it has the power to build or destroy everything around them. Your words, not just the big declarations, not just the things you say in prayer, but the small things, the casual phrases, the things you whisper when you are tired, when you are frustrated, when you feel overwhelmed, those moments when you think no one is listening. Those words matter more than you think. Most people believe their life is controlled by circumstances, by money, by opportunities, by what others do to them. But the truth goes deeper than that. Your life is not only shaped by what happens to you, it is shaped by what comes out of you. And today God wants you to become aware of something that may have been working against you without you realizing it. Something that has been influencing your results, your emotions, your future, in ways you never connected before. Because every time you speak, you are not just expressing how you feel. You are aligning yourself with something. You are agreeing with something. You are giving weight to something. And over time, those agreements begin to form patterns. That is why some people feel stuck in cycles they cannot explain. They pray, they believe, they try to move forward, but somehow they keep returning to the same place. The same problems, the same frustrations, the same limitations, and it is not always because something outside is blocking them. Sometimes it is because something inside is reinforcing the same reality again and again. And I want you to think about this honestly without judgment, just awareness. What have you been saying lately about your life? What have you been declaring about your future? About your health, about your finances, about your relationships? Because those words are not disappearing into the air. They are doing something. They are shaping something. They are reinforcing something. And here is where everything begins to change. If your words have been powerful enough to reinforce patterns of limitation, then they are also powerful enough to break them. If your voice has been part of what kept you stuck, it can also become the very thing that sets you free. And that means you are not as trapped as you feel. You are not as limited as your situation suggests. You are not as far from change as you think. Because the same mouth that has been repeating fear can begin to speak peace. The same voice that has been declaring lack can begin to declare provision. The same person who felt stuck can begin to move in a completely different direction starting today. But first you need to understand something deeper. There is a principle that exists beyond what you can see. A principle that operates whether you are aware of it or not. And once you understand it, you will never speak the same way again. Imagine for a moment that you are standing in a courtroom, and before anything begins, you hear a simple but powerful statement. Everything you say will be used. Most people hear that and think about legal situations. But spiritually, that principle has always been active. Every word carries weight, every word carries consequence, every word carries authority. And this is where many people get it wrong. They believe that everything happening in their life is being controlled from the outside, that something or someone has power over them, that they are constantly being attacked, blocked, or limited by forces they cannot control. But what if that is not the full picture? What if the enemy does not operate the way you think? What if he does not have independent authority over your life anymore? Because if that authority has already been taken away, if it has already been defeated, then something else must be happening. And this is where the truth becomes uncomfortable, but also incredibly freeing. Because if something still has influence in your life, it may not be because it has power, but because it has permission. And many times that permission is given through something so simple, so common, that people overlook it every single day, their own words. And once you begin to see this, something inside you starts to wake up, because you realize that your words are not just sounds. They are signatures, they are agreements, they are permissions. Every time you say something about your life, you are either opening a door or closing one. You are either building something or tearing something down. And the most dangerous part is that most people do it unconsciously. They speak without realizing they are giving authority to something. They repeat phrases they have heard all their lives. They echo fear. They echo limitation. They echo defeat. And over time, those repeated words begin to form a reality that feels impossible to escape. And then they ask themselves why nothing changes, why they feel stuck, why the same problems keep showing up again and again, and they never connect it to the one thing that has been constant the entire time, their own voice, because here is something you need to understand deeply. The enemy does not need to create something new in your life if he can simply maintain what you keep declaring. He does not need to fight you if you are already agreeing with the outcome he wants. He does not need to force his way in if the door is already open. And many times that door is opened by simple phrases that seem harmless. Phrases like, "I can't do this," "Things never work for me," "I am always struggling," "Nothing ever changes." Those words may feel like truth in the moment, but they are not neutral. They are agreements, and agreements shape outcomes. That is why two people can face the same situation and experience completely different results, because one speaks defeat and the other speaks faith. One reinforces the problem and the other begins to declare a different direction. And over time those differences grow. They expand, they multiply, until what once looked small becomes a completely different life path. And this is why today matters so much. Because today is not just about hearing something new, it is about becoming aware of something that has been affecting you for a long time. It is about recognizing that your words have been participating in your reality more than you thought. And once you recognize it, you can no longer ignore it. You begin to notice it in real time. You begin to catch yourself when you are about to say something negative. You begin to feel the difference between speaking from fear and speaking from faith. And that awareness is the first step to change, because you cannot transform what you are not aware of. And many people stay stuck not because they lack faith, but because they lack awareness. They don't realize what they are reinforcing daily. They don't realize the patterns they are feeding with their own words. But today that changes for you, because now you are starting to see it. Now you are starting to recognize it. Now you are starting to understand that your voice carries more weight than you ever imagined. And this is where something powerful begins to happen. Because once you become aware, you also realize something else. If your words have been used to reinforce limitation, they can also be used to release you from it. If your voice has been aligning with fear, it can begin to align with truth. If your mouth has been repeating what you see, it can begin to declare what God says instead. And that shift changes everything. Because when your words begin to align with truth instead of fear, something inside you begins to stabilize. Your mind begins to quiet down. Your emotions begin to settle. And your direction begins to change. Not all at once, but steadily, consistently, like a course correction that slowly leads you somewhere new. And this is why it is so important that you don't rush past this moment. Don't treat this like just another message. Stay present, stay aware, let this sink in. Because something inside you is already beginning to shift. And that shift is the beginning of a completely different reality. But before we go deeper, I want you to do something simple. I want you to pay attention to your breathing for a moment. Slow it down. Let your body relax. Because what we are about to do next is not just about understanding. It is about transformation. And transformation begins when you are present enough to receive it. And as that question begins to settle inside your heart, something deeper starts to surface. Because this is not just about what you said yesterday or last week. This is about patterns that may have been repeating for years without you realizing it. Patterns of words that became habits. Habits that became agreements. And agreements that slowly shaped the direction of your life. And maybe now you are starting to recognize them. Maybe you are remembering phrases you have said many times without thinking. Phrases that felt normal. Phrases that felt harmless. Phrases like, "I am always tired," "Nothing ever works for me," "Things never change," "I don't see a way out." And at the time, those words felt real. They felt like an honest reflection of what you were going through. But now something inside you is beginning to see them differently. Now you are beginning to realize that those words were not just describing your situation. They were reinforcing it. They were giving it strength. They were giving it continuity. And over time, that repetition began to create something that feels solid, something that feels permanent, something that feels like reality itself. But what you are starting to understand right now is that what feels permanent was actually being maintained. What feels fixed was actually being reinforced, and that means something very important. It means it can also be undone. It means it can also be broken. It means it can also be replaced, and this is where hope becomes real in a different way. Not as a distant idea, not as something abstract, but as something practical. Something you can participate in starting now. Because if your words have been participating in maintaining a certain direction, then your words can also begin to participate in changing it. And this is not about pretending everything is fine. This is not about ignoring reality. This is about choosing alignment. This is about choosing what you agree with moving forward. Because there is a difference between acknowledging what you see and agreeing with what you see. There is a difference between recognizing a challenge and declaring that the challenge defines you. And many people blur that line without realizing it. They speak what they see as if it is final. They repeat their problems as if they are permanent. And in doing so, they unknowingly give those situations more authority in their life. But right now, something is shifting in you. Right now, you are beginning to see that you have a choice. That you can acknowledge a situation without surrendering to it. That you can face something without agreeing with its outcome. That you can be honest about where you are without locking yourself into that place. And that awareness is powerful because it separates you from what you have been reinforcing. It creates space between you and the patterns that have been repeating. And in that space, something new can begin. Something different. Something aligned with truth instead of fear. And this is where the idea of your words as a signature becomes even more important. Because every time you repeat something, you are signing again. You are confirming again, you are saying yes again, even if you don't realize it. And over time, those repeated signatures form something that feels like a contract. Something that feels binding. Something that feels difficult to break. But here is the truth that changes everything. Any agreement that was made can also be undone. Any signature that was given can also be revoked. Any pattern that was reinforced can also be interrupted. And you are not powerless in this process. You are not stuck watching it happen. You are involved in it. You have authority in it. You have influence in it. And that means you can begin to shift it. Step by step, word by word, decision by decision. And it does not require perfection. It requires awareness. It requires intention. It requires a willingness to pause before speaking and ask yourself, what am I about to agree with? What am I about to reinforce? What direction am I about to strengthen with these words? And that simple pause can begin to change everything, because it interrupts the automatic patterns. It breaks the cycle of unconscious agreement. It creates space for a different choice. And over time, those small choices begin to accumulate. They begin to form new patterns. They begin to shape a new direction. And that direction leads somewhere different, somewhere lighter, somewhere more aligned with what God actually says about you. And this is where something even deeper begins to happen. Because as you become more aware of your words, you also begin to feel a greater sense of responsibility. Not in a heavy way, not in a way that creates pressure, but in a way that creates clarity. You begin to realize that your voice matters, that what you say has weight, that your words are not random, they are intentional. And when you begin to see your voice that way, you naturally begin to guard it differently. You begin to choose your words more carefully. You begin to notice when something negative tries to come out. And instead of letting it flow automatically, you pause, you redirect, you realign. And that moment, that small decision, is where transformation begins. Not in a big dramatic shift, but in consistent, intentional choices that slowly change the trajectory of your life. And right now you are stepping into that process. You are becoming aware, you are beginning to see, you are beginning to understand, and that means you are already moving. Even if nothing around you has changed yet, something inside you has, and that is where everything starts. And now that you are beginning to see this clearly, now that something inside you has awakened to the weight of your words, this is the moment where everything begins to shift from awareness into action. Because understanding alone is not enough. Awareness opens the door, but action is what transforms your reality. And this is where many people stop. They realize something, they feel something, but they don't do anything different, and everything stays the same. But that is not going to be your story. Because you are still here, you are still listening, and that means you are ready for the next step. You are ready to do something about what you have just understood. And that next step is simple but powerful. It is the decision to cancel every agreement that no longer belongs in your life. It is the decision to revoke every word that has been reinforcing fear, limitation, sickness, lack, or defeat. Because if your words have been acting like signatures, then today you are taking back your authority over what you sign. You are deciding what continues and what ends. And I want you to feel this moment. Don't rush it, don't treat it lightly, because this is not just a symbolic idea. This is a real shift happening inside you. This is you stepping into a new level of awareness and authority. And right now, quietly, without forcing anything, I want you to bring to your mind one thing you have been saying repeatedly that you know has not been helping you. Maybe it is something about your finances. Maybe it is something about your health. Maybe it is something about your future. Maybe it is something about yourself. Whatever it is, just let it come to the surface. Don't judge it, just recognize it. Because recognition is the first step to release. And now that you see it, now that you are aware of it, you are no longer bound to it. You are no longer required to keep repeating it. You are no longer obligated to agree with it. And this is where you make a decision, a quiet but powerful decision. You decide that it stops here. You decide that it does not continue into your future. You decide that it no longer has authority over your direction. And as you make that decision, something begins to loosen. Something begins to break. Something begins to release. Not because of effort, but because of alignment. Because the moment you withdraw agreement, you remove the support that was keeping that pattern alive. And this is where your words begin to shift from unconscious repetition into intentional declaration. And now, instead of repeating what you have been seeing, you begin to align with what God says, not in a forced way, not in a fake way, but in a grounded, intentional way. Because you understand now that your words are not just describing your life, they are participating in it. And from this moment forward, you are choosing to participate differently. You are choosing to align differently. You are choosing to speak in a way that builds instead of tears down, in a way that opens instead of closes, in a way that creates instead of reinforces limitation. And right now, I want you to stay with me. Don't drift. Don't get distracted. Because what we are about to do together is where everything becomes real. This is where you begin to actively release what no longer belongs and step into something new. And you don't need to do anything complicated. You don't need to perform. You don't need to get it perfect. You just need to be present and intentional. So take a slow breath again. Let your body relax. Let your mind settle. And in your own pace, in your own way, begin to say within yourself, I release every word I have spoken that does not align with truth. I release every agreement I made in fear. I release every declaration that has been holding me back. And as you say that, even quietly, even internally, something begins to shift because you are no longer reinforcing those patterns. You are stepping out of them. And this is where the transition begins. From repeating old patterns to establishing new ones. From unconscious agreement to intentional alignment. From limitation to possibility. And this is only the beginning. Because what comes next is where you begin to actively speak life. To actively declare something new. To actively align your words with what you truly want to see. And that is where everything starts to move in a completely different direction. And now stay with me a little longer. Don't rush away from this moment. Don't let everything you just felt fade too quickly. Because what is happening inside you right now is important. More important than you realize. This sense of calm, this quiet clarity. This subtle shift that you feel deep within you is not something random. It is not just emotion, it is alignment. It is your spirit recognizing truth. It is your mind beginning to settle into something higher, something more stable, something more real than the noise you have been used to. And even if nothing around you has changed yet, even if your circumstances look exactly the same as they did before you pressed play, something inside you has already begun to change. And that is where every true transformation begins. Not outside, not in what you can see immediately, but within, in the place where your thoughts, your beliefs and your words are formed. Because once that place shifts, everything else begins to follow. Maybe not instantly, maybe not dramatically, but steadily, consistently in a way that builds something real and lasting over time. And right now you are stepping into that process. You are no longer speaking from the same place you were before. You are no longer reacting automatically. You are becoming aware. You are becoming intentional. You are beginning to choose instead of repeat. And that changes everything. Because from this moment forward, your words are no longer just reactions. They are direction. They are seeds. They are building something. Even when you don't immediately see the result, every word you choose carries weight. Every phrase you allow carries influence. And every time you pause and choose to speak differently, you are strengthening a new path. You are reinforcing a new reality. You are moving forward in a way that is deeper than what your eyes can see right now. And I want you to hold on to this truth as you continue your day. You are not alone in this process. You are not trying to fix everything by yourself. You are not expected to be perfect. God is with you in this, present in the quiet moments, present in the pauses, present in the times when you almost fall back into old patterns, gently reminding you, gently guiding you, gently bringing you back into alignment. Not with pressure, not with judgment, but with patience, with grace, with consistency, and that means you don't have to get everything right. You just have to remain willing to pause, willing to notice, willing to choose again even if you fail sometimes, even if you slip into old habits for a moment. What matters is that you come back. What matters is that you become aware again. What matters is that you keep choosing differently one moment at a time, because those small moments are not small at all. They are building something powerful, something stable, something that will eventually become visible in your life, and one day, sooner than you think, you will look back and realize that you are no longer where you used to be, that the patterns that once felt impossible to break no longer have the same hold on you, that your thoughts feel different, your emotions feel lighter, your reactions feel more controlled, your direction feels clearer, and it all began with moments like this. Quiet moments where you decided to listen, where you decided to become aware, where you decided to align with something higher instead of continuing in the same cycle. And as you move forward from here, I want you to carry this piece with you, not as something temporary, not as something that disappears when this video ends, but as something you return to, something you reconnect with throughout your day, a reminder that you have authority over your words, that you have influence over your direction, that you are not stuck, you are not trapped, you are not defined by what you used to say or what you used to believe. You are moving forward step by step, word by word, choice by choice. And each one of those choices is shaping something new, something better, something aligned with truth. And right now, take one more slow breath, let it out gently. Feel that calm settle deeper into your body. Feel that quiet confidence begin to grow inside you. Not a loud confidence, not something forced, but a steady, grounded certainty that you are changing, that you are moving, that you are becoming more aware, more intentional, more aligned. And that is enough. That is more than enough to begin. So don't rush, don't overthink, don't pressure yourself to do everything perfectly. Just move forward with awareness, speak with intention, choose your words carefully, and trust that every time you do, you are planting something good, something that will grow, something that will eventually show up in your life in ways you cannot yet fully imagine. And hold on to this final truth as you go. You are going to be okay, not because everything is perfect right now, but because you are no longer the same. You are aware, you are aligned, you are moving, and that changes everything. So carry this with you, walk in peace, speak with clarity, and trust that what you are building from this moment forward is leading you into something better than what you are leaving behind.